the key is that it needs to come from whole food sources. Like, quality is everything. Not all sugar are created equal. It basically opens up your muscle suitcase, which means that the carbs you consume afterwards are going to be utilized to refill your muscle and liver glycogen stores. That activates something called brown fat. It's basically a type of fat that burns fat. It's the most sustainable approach in my opinion because you get the best of both worlds. Because you're giving your body a couple of important signals by doing this. Timing is everything. In this video, I'm going to show you the best time to eat carbs. Yes, such time period actually exists. And make sure to stick around until the end because I'm going to show you some advanced strategies that you can use around your mealtime so you can return to fat burning as quickly as possible after eating carbs. These are the exact same tips that I give to all my coaching clients, and they've all gone to see some amazing results. So you know it works. And if you're interested in working with me, you can book a free consultation by checking out the link somewhere at the top here or in the description below. Before we get started, don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe to my channel and hit the bell to get notified every time I post a new video every week. It really helps support my channel. All right, let's get into it. My main focus these days is longevity while maximizing health span and following a sustainable dietary approach so I can live my most radical and highest quality life every day. I also only do things that I love. So if it doesn't have to do with any of those things, I'm not interested. And if you've been following my channel over the years, you'll know that I've completely switched my paradigm when it comes to carbs. I got caught up a little bit with the reductionist thinking that came with the keto dogma. But I'm a truth seeker. I'm willing to admit that my knowledge around that subject a few years ago wasn't complete, but I've changed my mind since then. And by the way, the people that are completely dug in with their beliefs, even when they're presented with new data, are the most dangerous people. That means they're not learning. Here's the thing. Not all carbs are bad for you. Far from it. There have been many long-lived societies that have existed primarily on carbs like the Katavans and Tukisenta in Papua New Guinea. Same thing with the Okinawans in Japan. And they have the most centenarians per capita on the planet. Those societies eat a lot of tubers and root vegetables. I mean, I can't just ignore that. And by the way, the claim that the vaunted blue zones eat a mostly vegetarian and vegan diet is a scam. I've been to Okinawa and they definitely eat a lot of meat there. Shout out to Dr. Paul Saladino because he's done an amazing job debunking the blue zones. It's really nothing but cherry-picked garbage data. For example, they conveniently omitted Hong Kong, which just happens to lead the planet in life expectancy. Guess what? They also have the highest meat consumption on the planet. They eat over 1.5 pounds of meat every day. And again, Japan sits nicely on the number 2 spot. And I've spent a lot of time in both of those countries, and I can tell you firsthand that they eat a lot of meat, as well as white rice. So going back to carbs, the key is that it needs to come from whole food sources. Like, quality is everything. For example, eating sweet potatoes, which is what a lot of these long-lived societies eat, versus sweet potato fries, which is highly processed, and deep fried and toxic seed oils are not the same. The long-lived societies eat carbs from whole food sources, while we eat it in its highly refined form, laced or deep fried in seed oils in the West. The problem is these heart-healthy seed oils are everywhere. That's why learning to read labels is a superpower these days. Overconsumption of industrial seed oils is really the key driver of metabolic dysfunction for a lot of people. That's really what I've landed on based on my years of research. I've also switched my stance on natural fructose found in fruit, as well as natural sugar like honey, which is made up of fructose and glucose. As always, there are levels. There's been a lot of studies done with fructose in isolation, which show a worsening of metabolic health, which is true. Meaning high fructose corn syrup found in pop, candy, cereal, baked goods, white bread, condiments, and even salad dressings. However, there are also many studies where fructose is given to humans on a food matrix, and it showed to have a completely discordant effect on human health. Fructose found in fruit and even honey does not induce oxidative damage or an inflammatory response. What do we do with that data? Listen to that again if you have to. Not all sugar are created equal. Like the fructose found in a banana versus the high fructose corn syrup found in white bread or pop are not the same. A tablespoon of table sugar versus a tablespoon of honey are going to have a completely different reaction in your body. In fact, raw and organic honey actually has a lot of beneficial microbial properties. Hunter-gatherers like the Hadza in Tanzania rank honey and meat, especially organ meat like the liver, as first and second in their food hierarchy. They also eat fruit. and they don't suffer from insulin resistance, obesity, cancer, or cardiovascular disease. And they go to town when they find honey, and they're not worried about spiking their insulin. My point here is that carbs from whole food sources, as well as fructose on a food matrix, meaning naturally found in foods like fruit and honey, are not bad for you if you're metabolically healthy. Okay, so there's a little bit of caveat there. But carbs alone does not cause insulin resistance. I am completely off that bandwagon. So now that we've established that high quality carbs can be your friend, the question now becomes, when is the best time to eat carbs? Here's what I've landed on as the best way to incorporate carbs into your diet. First, you need to get fat adapted, meaning you're metabolically flexible. Metabolic flexibility means that you can easily switch back and forth between fat and carbs as a fuel source. So it doesn't matter if you're getting your glucose from sushi rice, or you're tapping into your stored glycogen in your muscles and liver, or you can get your fat from butter, or you're combusting your own body fat for energy. It's a beautiful thing. You'll never feel hangry if you're metabolically flexible. It's kind of the holy grail of weight loss and optimal health. The good thing is it's actually your birthright. Everyone is born with that machinery. The problem is 88% of American adults are metabolically healthy. That's almost 9 out of every 10. Even the people that are in the normal weight category, they can still be considered overfat. And according to Dr. Phil Maffetone, 76% of the world's population is overfat. So your friend that can eat whatever he or she wants, that person is most likely overfat on the inside. That's why it's good to get yearly blood work done. The good thing is that you can overcome this overfatness and you can get fat adapted again in as little as 3 to 6 weeks if you do things properly. So you can check out my other videos if you want to know how to achieve metabolic flexibility. You can also work with me if you just want me to hold your hand throughout the process. Again, you can book a free consultation by checking out the link somewhere at the top here or in the description below. But once you're metabolically flexible, you can strategically add the carbs back in for dinner. That way, you get the best of both worlds. You get to top off your mostly depleted glycogen stores at the end of the day, while at the same time, you're still burning mostly fatty acids for the majority of the day, with a brief stint out of that fat burning state when you have your carb refeed. You can then ensure that you return quickly to fat burning by doing certain things that make you more insulin sensitive before your carb refeed at night. So, before you eat dinner, that includes carbs, you should do some form of resistance training or even a HIIT workout. That's gonna drain your muscle glycogen stores and make you more insulin sensitive. It basically opens up your muscle suitcase, which means that the carbs you consume afterwards are gonna be utilized to refill your muscle and liver glycogen stores. You can also do cold thermogenesis by taking a cold shower for 2 minutes. That activates something called brown fat, which is very dense in mitochondria. It's basically a type of fat that burns fat. It's mostly around your back and collarbone area. Babies have a lot of brown fat. You can also take some glucose disposal agent like berberine. A more practical way if you don't have access to berberine is if you're at a restaurant, any decent bar would have bitters. Just order some bitters on ice. If you ask nicely, they'll probably give it to you for free. It also looks fancy. You can also just take some apple cider vinegar if you're at home. But if you do all those things before your carb refeed at dinner, it's gonna make you return to fat burning a lot faster. I'm giving away all my secrets here. And then go for a 10 to 15 minute walk after dinner to blunt the blood sugar and insulin response. If you go for a 15-minute walk, it can cut that blood sugar and insulin response by half. Believe it or not, I do this walking habit even if I'm at a house party or at a restaurant. I'll just disappear for 10 minutes. It's a great conversation starter. People are always wondering, like, where are you going? Or where did you go? Plus, the carbs you consume with dinner allow for greater serotonin response from those carbs, resulting in better quality sleep because of melatonin upregulation that comes from that carb refeed. As if that wasn't enough from a practical standpoint, when you have carbs for dinner, you can allow yourself to be more social. Now we're talking about sustainability, which is such an important factor for long-term success. Like, what's the most social meal of the day typically? It's usually dinner, right? It's usually the one you have with your family and friends for socializing. It's also usually the meal where you have the least control. It's the one you have when you go to restaurants or when you go to someone's house. So why not engineer your day so that dinner is the most macronutrient flexible meal? Like, most people can get a good grip when it comes to what they have for breakfast and lunch. Personally, my breakfast and lunch are basically the same every day. I'll have a cup of black coffee with a tiny splash of heavy cream for breakfast. Then I'll have some eggs, ground beef, or burger patty with some squash, or a little bit of sweet potatoes for lunch. I usually try to keep it between 30 to 40 grams of carbs for lunch. So by saving your carbs for dinner, you're just making yourself a funner person to be around socially. Again, that helps greatly with diet sustainability. You're not always just ordering a piece of steak with some butter when you eat out for dinner. Although there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So this is what I've landed on these days. It's what I tell all my coaching clients. It's the most sustainable approach in my opinion because you get the best of both worlds. Because you're giving your body a couple of important signals by doing this. You're on longevity mode for most of the day, and then you're in growth mode for a small window of it. I don't want to get too technical, but this is why you should not fear mTOR. A lot of the plant-based longevity experts will scare people from eating meat because meat triggers mTOR as if that was a bad thing. Again, think about people living in Hong Kong. They eat a ton of meat and they have the highest life expectancy. And do you know what else triggers mTOR? Exercise. So are we now saying that exercise is bad? I mean, give me a break. And if you pay attention to what a lot of these plant-based longevity experts look like, they look sarcopenic. I don't want to look like that. Having carbs for dinner is also another reason why you should do your workouts in the afternoon. Data shows that the best time to perform athletic endeavors is in the afternoon anyway. So you get into growth mode when you do resistance training, then have a protein-centric meal with carbs afterwards to stimulate muscle and refill your glycogen stores. It's the best of both worlds. Perfect example of this is last weekend, I went to a house party and my friend made traditional Jordanian dish. I can't remember the name, but it literally translated to turnover, but it was basically chicken and rice with some spices. It was absolutely delicious. You can bet that before dinner, I went to the gym and did some resistance training, and then I took a cold shower afterwards, and then I went to the party. But the combination of working out and taking a cold shower shifted me in a state where I can have some rice and homemade baklava drizzled with raw and organic honey, which I absolutely love, and be just fine because I'm super carb sensitive. It's the same thing if you're eating out at a restaurant. You don't need to be scared of the menu anymore. You can have sourdough or a gluten-free bun if you order a burger, or you can have mashed potatoes or baked potatoes with your steak. It's not a big deal. What this strategy looks like for me on a regular night is I'll anchor my carbs for dinner as my dessert. So after I have my protein-centric meal, I'll slice up a banana, then I'll add some plain organic Greek yogurt, an ounce of aged cheese, half an ounce of crushed cashews, and then I'll drizzle it with a tablespoon of raw and organic honey. And it turns into the most delicious and guilt-free dessert. You have to try it. By the way, when it comes to honey, it needs to be raw and organic. It needs to specify that on the bottle. Everything else is garbage. Again, the most important thing you have to consider is making sure that you're eating the highest quality carbs without these toxic seed oils. Like you're not having fast food with Twinkies and donuts because Carlos said it's okay to have carbs. No, again, those are laced with seed oils. So the best thing that you can do is plan ahead. But this carb refeed dinner strategy works unbelievably well to keep you on track with your weight loss goals because it's the best of both worlds. Now, if you're someone who's been struggling losing weight for years, you've tried every diet under the sun, you've cut the fat, you've gone on a calorie deficit diet, you work out every day, but you just can't seem to lose the weight, or maybe you're feeling stuck because you've hit a weight loss plateau and you can't seem to get out of it. Can't find answers, and you realize that it's time to get one-on-one professional help, then feel free to reach out to me. Just head on over to my website, newbiefitnessacademy.com/coaching, read through the page and the success stories, and fill out the application form for a free consultation. If I think that we're a good fit, then I'll personally reach out to you directly. Now, if you enjoyed this video, then please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I post a new video every week, and feel free to leave a comment below if you have any questions about this video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Virtual high five.